I've heard you mention something about a 5-year assumption due to injuries. Can you explain that?
Well, I think anybody that walks into a jiu-jitsu school and thinks they're not going to get hurt, first, I mean that's a lie that a jiu-jitsu school would tell anybody. They say, "Oh, don't worry, you're safe here. You're not going to get hurt here." That's not true. Another lie we tell everyone is that jiu-jitsu is for everyone. That's not true. So it's not safe. It's not for everyone. It's for people that don't mind injury. You have to be okay when you play a contact sport. You have to be okay with getting injured. It's part of it. The question is, what kind of injury are you experiencing? Because the difference between a little muscle sprain and, tearing your meniscus is that's just a huge. So little things, rolling a joint, spraining a muscle, if something gets pushed a little too far, these are all easy to recover from, but they don't make up the bulk of jujitsu injuries. Most people have damaged a major joint, whether it's the shoulder or the
Mhm,
knee. These days, of course, it can often involve the foot,
mhm,
but the neck. I mean, if I'm talking about, your big five, these are the guys. You got you got about 5 years of, it's a 5 to 10 year time frame before the person is seriously injured or so injured that, that they sort of start wrapping it up in the sport.
mhm.
If I walk into a room, I'm the oldest guy in the room, or I'm one of the oldest guys in the room 95% of the time. Anybody 50 or over in that room, and especially if the room gets younger, that gets even truer. So when I go to Red Hawk, which is Tim Welsh and Sugar's place in Phoenix, that room is nothing but kids. It's 15 to 30 years old, but they're mostly 20s.
Yeah, yeah.
It's all young guys, and they're
Wow.
they're all MMA fighters and they're grinders.
Mhm.
And when I go in there, they just think I'm an alien, because
Yeah.
I fight with everybody. I don't skip anybody. I'm like, sure, let's go. And there's nobody in there my age, but they're just like, God, why is this, uncle in here,
Yeah.
fighting everybody?
Yeah.
But I can do it because I know how to fight hard and not be hurt. But that brings us back to sort of our earlier discussion around escaping. There's two approaches. You've either got an early stage approach or you've
Mhm,
got a late stage approach.
mhm,
And the difference between the two is that one is more like wrestling focused and one is a little bit more jujitsu focused. And
mm,
let me explain why. The wrestling focused early escape work is about scrambling before position is established. And it means building into positions that are difficult for another person to control. So if you pass my guard and I turtle, jiu-jitsu fighters often stay in the turtle position and then fight from there, which
mhm,
is a late stage place to fight from, but very jiu-jitsu. A wrestler doesn't do that. They turn and they start to build up right
mhm,
away,
mhm,
which is what makes the most sense if you're fighting in a real way. Like nobody has the luxury except in a sport to lay there on your knees and your head like this and get kicked in the head
mm,
and beat up while you can't see anything going on.
mm,
So this is a terrible design flaw in jiu-jitsu because we teach or even encourage it. And the reason I ran into this in yoga too. The biggest problem with yoga is that yoga is practiced on a mat. And then the
mm.
mat, which is this rectangular thing, then determines the creativity of the practitioner.
Wow, I
And
never
it,
thought of
and
that.
yeah, and it
Mhm,
oftentimes, of course, is reduced to a rectangle, which would be the difference if everyone practiced on a circular mat or practiced on no mat at all. And it was
mhm,
just an empty open floor space. So everything that is built is it has its sort of its conditions, its design dictated by the space that you have to move in. It's all it's all like engineering works that way. It's like how much room do we have to work with here? It's the first
mhm.
thing someone's gonna ask. How much? Okay, what are the parameters? What's the
Yeah.
width and the blah? So if you think about the problems with jujitsu modern day is that you've got limited floor space. You don't want to kill each other. And so you start in positions that sort of keep you on the floor. Like, okay, you start on your back, I start on my knees. Even if you could build up from your back, don't build up to a standing wrestling because then we'll start killing each other
Mm.
and stepping on our friends. And that's true. It's not wrong, but it encourages the wrong kind of training. If you want to go be an ADCC competitor, you're going to get killed over there. Your instincts are wrong. And so you have to have the right instincts for the sport, for what it's asking. So jujitsu guys have to change their instincts when they go into MMA. And MMA and wrestlers have to change their instincts when they go into jujitsu because they give up their back all the time. And so you have to be careful giving up your back against jujitsu guys because you think it's safe to just build up
Mm.
sort of while you're not paying attention to what's actually happening on your back. Because in wrestling, no one can choke each other. So all of these styles again, they're all in a way insulated in their own little worlds. And when the rule sets change, that's where you can find the gaps and the holes and the ways to beat this guy where he's great. Because you show me how you train, I'll show you how I can beat you. you know? So the
Mhm.
guy who's got nothing, no limitations, the floor is open, he can stand, he can fly, he can fall, he can jump. That's a problematic guy. That's why I mentioned like the Rotolo brothers or the Tackett brothers. They're problematic because you can tell that training room, they don't give a fuck. There's no stopping because you got to your knees.
Mhm.
It's like, no. So that translated into the world of practical fighting too. It's like, now one of the positives, let's just, because that's all like, oh, no, look, it's all wrong. No, one of the positives about learning to stay on the ground and fight from the ground is you get really good at it. So your standard jujitsu guy spends so much time on their backs defending the guard pass and working and attack. They get really good at it. And that makes them, in some ways, they have an advantage, because if
Sure.
they can stay protected down there, do well, good luck, good luck.
Yeah.
You see really good fighters
Yeah.
start to go
Levi
down.
Jones Leary. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. You see guys go, and they're like, okay, I'm out. I'm out of here. They don't want
Mhm.
to go down into that guy's guard,
Mhm.
but that's dangerous. And so there are pros and cons,